Unthinkable reveal. Britt's pregnancy ignites a chain reaction no one saw coming. Port Charles wakes up to a quiet morning that feels strangely heavy, as if the town itself senses something is about to shift. Britt Westbourne stands alone in her apartment, staring at a small white stick in her trembling hand. She's taken the test 3 times, hoping for a different result, hoping logic might somehow overrule fate. But the answer doesn't change. Britt is pregnant. Her first instinct isn't joy or panic, it's disbelief. Britt has spent most of her life keeping emotional walls high, protecting herself from disappointment and loss. A child was never part of her plan, never something she allowed herself to imagine. Yet now, the future has made the decision for her. She whispers to herself, "This changes everything." Britt knows she can't keep this to herself forever, but she also knows exactly who cannot find out, at least not yet. Carly Corinthos. If Carly learns the truth before Britt is ready, the fallout will be immediate and unforgiving. The problem is, Port Charles has a way of exposing secrets, especially ones tied to powerful families. Britt decides to confide in one person she trusts to stay calm under pressure, Lysel Obrecht. When Britt tells her mother the news, Lysel is stunned into silence, something that rarely happens. Then, unexpectedly, her eyes fill with tears. "A grandchild," Lysel says softly. "A future." But Lysel's joy is quickly tempered by concern. She warns Britt that this baby will place her directly in the path of Carly's fury. Lysel urges caution, strategy, and patience. Britt agrees, but fate has other plans. Across town, Carly is already on edge. She can feel it, the unsettling sense that something is happening behind her back. She's learned to trust her instincts, and right now, they're screaming at her. When she overhears a vague conversation at the hospital involving Britt and an unexpected medical appointment, Carly's suspicion explodes into certainty. "This isn't random, not with her," Carly mutters. Carly begins asking questions, and the more resistance she encounters, the more convinced she becomes that Britt is hiding something huge. The truth comes out not in a quiet conversation, but during a crowded hospital fundraiser meant to celebrate hope and healing. Britt had planned to leave early, to avoid attention, but she stopped mid-step when Carly approaches her with that familiar, sharp smile. "Funny running into you here, especially when you're clearly keeping secrets." Britt tries to deflect, but Carly presses harder, her voice rising just enough to draw attention. Finally, pushed beyond her limit, Britt speaks words that freeze the room. "I'm pregnant." The silence is deafening. Carly's expression shifts instantly, from shock to disbelief, then to pure fury. The room seems to hold its breath as Carly processes what she's just heard. "Pregnant?" Carly repeats. "You expect us to believe this just happened?" Britt meets Carly's gaze, refusing to shrink. "Believe whatever you want. The truth doesn't change." Carly doesn't yell, she doesn't scream. Instead, she delivers something far more dangerous, calm, controlled anger. "You have no idea what you've just started," Carly says quietly. Carly storms out, but her exit isn't the end, it's the beginning. Within hours, rumors spread across Port Charles. Alliances begin to shift. People take sides without fully understanding why. Britt becomes the center of attention she never wanted. Every glance feels like judgment. Every whisper feels like accusation. Yet something unexpected happens. Someone Carly never anticipated intervenes. Jason Morgan. Jason doesn't take sides easily, but he recognizes something in Britt. Fear mixed with resolve. He quietly warns Carly that pushing Britt too hard could have consequences far beyond pride or control. "This isn't about winning," Jason tells Carly. "There's a child involved." Carly bristles at his words. "Don't lecture me about children." But later, alone, Carly begins to unravel. The situation forces her to confront something deeper, not just anger toward Britt, but fear of losing control over her carefully guarded world. As pressure mounts, Britt considers leaving Port Charles altogether. She could disappear, raise her child somewhere quiet, away from power struggles and emotional landmines. But Britt realizes something important. Running would mean letting fear decide her future. Instead, she makes a bold move. Britt requests a private meeting with Carly. In a tense, closed-door moment, Britt does something Carly never expects. She tells the truth without defensiveness, without manipulation. This isn't a weapon. This is my life, and whether you like it or not, I'm choosing to protect it. Carly listens, arms crossed, but something cracks beneath her anger. For the first time, she sees Britt not as a rival, but as a woman standing on the edge of something irreversible. The conversation doesn't end in forgiveness, but it ends in restraint. By the end of the week, Port Charles is changed. Carly is no longer in full control of the narrative. Britt, once underestimated, stands stronger than ever. The pregnancy becomes more than a scandal. It becomes a turning point. And as the town watches closely, one truth becomes clear. This baby will reshape lives, expose hidden loyalties, and ignite battles no one is prepared for. Because in Port Charles, the most unthinkable reveals don't just shock, they change
The uneasy
everything.
truce between Britt and Carly doesn't last long. Not because either woman breaks it, but because Port Charles refuses to let the situation rest. Within days, whispers turn into full-blown speculation. People begin connecting dots that may not even exist, drawing conclusions fueled by old grudges and unfinished history. Every conversation stops when Britt enters a room. Every glance feels weighted. But Britt refuses to retreat. Instead, she returns to work at General Hospital, head held high. It's a statement, silent but powerful. She will not disappear. She will not be erased. Still, the stress takes its toll. During a routine checkup, Britt is warned to slow down, to avoid unnecessary pressure. The irony isn't lost on her. In Port Charles, pressure is unavoidable. Carly, meanwhile, is fighting a battle on two fronts. Publicly, she maintains composure, insisting she's staying out of Britt's personal life. Privately, she's furious, not just at Britt, but at herself. She hates that she hesitated. She hates that Britt didn't break, and most of all, she hates that this situation has awakened doubts she buried long ago. When Carly learns that several influential figures are quietly offering Britt support, financial, legal, emotional, her frustration intensifies. Someone is clearly positioning Britt as untouchable. This isn't an accident, Carly says to herself. Someone's playing a long game. That someone turns out to be Nina Reeves. Nina approaches Britt one evening after work, her tone calm but deliberate. "You're not alone," Nina says, "and whether Carly likes it or not, she doesn't get to control every outcome." Britt is wary. She knows Nina's history is complicated, tangled with regret and fierce loyalty. Still, Britt senses sincerity. "I'm not asking for protection. I just want space." Nina nods. Sometimes space has to be defended. The alliance shocks Port Charles. Nina's quiet support creates a ripple effect, encouraging others to keep their distance from Carly's influence. For the first time in years, Carly feels the ground shift beneath her feet. Just when Britt believes the storm might be settling, she receives an anonymous note slipped under her apartment door. "You don't know the whole truth. Ask about the night everything changed." The message sends a chill through her. There's no signature, no explanation, but Britt knows it's not random. She begins digging into her own past, revisiting moments she once dismissed as insignificant, late-night conversations, unexpected absences, decisions made for her, not by her. The deeper she looks, the more unsettled she becomes. At the hospital, a routine scan raises questions. Nothing alarming, but enough to require further tests. Britt, normally composed, feels a flicker of fear she can't quite control. Liesl insists on being present, her usual bravado softened by genuine concern. "This child is strong, and so are you," Liesl says firmly. But Britt can't shake the feeling that something is missing, that the pregnancy itself is tied to a truth yet to uncover. Meanwhile, Carly's world begins to close in. Her children sense her distraction, her allies question her restraint, and her enemies, long silent, are watching carefully. One quiet evening, Carly finds herself alone, staring at old photographs she never meant to keep. Memories surface, choices she made when control felt like survival. For the first time, Carly wonders if her anger toward Britt is really about the pregnancy, or about what it represents, a future she cannot dictate. "I won't lose everything," Carly whispers. "Not again." The turning point comes when Britt confronts a former colleague, someone who was present during a critical moment years ago. "What aren't you telling me?" Britt demands. The answer isn't immediate, but it's devastating. Britt learns that a key detail about her past was deliberately withheld, not out of malice, but convenience, a choice made by someone who believed they were protecting her without realizing they were altering her destiny. The revelation reframes everything, the timing, the circumstances, even the reactions unfolding now. This pregnancy isn't just unexpected, it's connected. Armed with the truth, Britt makes a decision that surprises everyone, including herself. She won't just survive this, she'll take control. Britt schedules a public announcement, not about the pregnancy, but about her future, her plans, her boundaries. When Carly hears about it, her stomach tightens. She knows whatever Britt is about to say will shift the balance of power yet again. As Port Charles braces for Britt's next move, alliances harden and secrets strain to stay hidden. One thing is certain, the story is no longer about fury alone. It's about truth, choice, and who gets to define the future. And the next reveal won't just shock the town, it will force everyone, especially Carly, to decide what they're willing to lose and what they're finally ready to let go.